Does that look good to you, Bethany?
I'm getting it pulled up now.
Okay.
Just 1 second.
Problem. You're in the feedback.
Yep, we're on.
All right. Does that look good to you, Bethany? All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the Frostburg Planning Commission meeting, 7 p.m., Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. Thanks for joining us this evening. Chair Best, if you'd like to take the reins, we're ready to go.
Now 7 a.m. I hereby call the February 10th meeting of the Frostburg Planning Commission to order. We'll start our meeting with roll call of the members present. Director Bennett, if you'd call the roll.
I'd be pleased to. Thank you. Commissioner Krogh?
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Rase?
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Duncan?
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Snyder?
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter?
Present.
Commissioner Carter?
Present.
Thank you very much. And Chair Best?
Present.
Thank you, sir. Let the record show that Commissioner Ritchey is not present this evening. However, he may be joining us later.
We have a quorum.
Yes, sir, we do.
As we begin, I would ask that anyone presenting business before the commission or individuals who want to comment on business before the commission or other concerns, please make your wishes known at the appropriate time and state your name and address for the record. Each meeting is recorded, so please speak loudly and okay, first item on the agenda, I believe, if you'd roll it up there for me, please, is a review approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. I know the minutes were distributed previously. Did everybody have a chance to review them before the meeting?
Yes, I'd like to approve the minutes as written.
I'll make a second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Commissioner Bennett, if you call the roll.
I'd be pleased to. Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Krogh?
I approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Snyder?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Rase?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Thank you. And Chair Best?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that's a unanimous approval of the minutes from January 13th, 2021.
First item on the agenda is citizens' comments, and I note for the record that we have at least one member of Boy Scout Troop 24 sitting in on the meeting. He is here to complete the requirements for citizenship in the community merit badge. And I see we have a second one that just joined in.
Yes, sir.
They are here, as I said, completing the merit badges for citizenship in the community, which is a required merit badge for Eagle. Duncan and Chance, welcome to the meeting. You sit there with your muted and everything will be fine.
And welcome. We're very glad you're joining us this evening.
Okay, moving on to the first item on our agenda is the preliminary site plan review for Smitty's Tires, 101 Village Parkway. And Aaron, are you presenting?
Yes, I believe I am.
How about it?
All right. Basically, we haven't changed a whole lot. We tweaked the alignment of the fuel lanes a little bit. I've added some preliminary stuff on here for stormwater on the third page. I mean, basically, this is the template of how we do development permits in Garrett County. So I wanted to get you guys basically a draft of what we would be presenting normally here to see what your feedback is on it. There's basically a bunch of details and stuff on the title sheet. The second page just has some sediment erosion control. Due to the pretty flat slopes that we're dealing with here, we're proposing just putting some silt fence around the perimeter. The little isolated bit of parking over in front of the commercial area. I still have to get down there once the weather cooperates to try and get our survey crew to get some locations on some storm drains so we can incorporate that into it. The majority of I guess you could say the troublesome design on this site is going to be the fuel system and the NPDES permitting for it. And Smitty actually has Bolger Brothers who does the installation and permitting for this type of basically a stormwater hotspot. They'll be handling all of that. So I'm basically just doing a little bit. I mean, it's a basic site improvement where all we're really doing, there's no real grading other than at the exit. And we're just going to be putting some fill in, rolling it in, and then paving that new area. Everything else is pretty much to grade, where we're just removing some topsoil and putting some pavement in and installing some curbing. So once I get in touch with Bolger Brothers and really kind of flesh out the site plan mapping as far as existing stormwater, once we can find all the existing stormwater stuff on the site, that's kind of weather dependent. Then we can incorporate a little bit more of what we need to do stormwater with what Bolger Brothers permitting is going to be. But for the most part, our plan really hasn't changed that much on what we're doing as far as site layout and site development. Sediment erosion control is pretty basic. The stormwater management that we do, which is the ESD to the MEP, I'm going to see if we can do it in this basic infiltration trench where you sheet flow off of the parking into the infiltration trench and catch it as it goes around, so you're not concentrating the flows any. And then you could just provide overflow discharge points at the low ends of the ditch, so you're retaining that stormwater volume and hopefully getting it to infiltrate. But there's some questions about how we need to handle stormwater up here, given basically the site's history, and it's supposed to be a D soil that doesn't infiltrate well, so it's also been kind of a disturbed site. So we're going to be wrestling with that a little bit for the final.
Have you done any borings or any geotech work or the in-place or in situ infiltration testing yet?
Right, we have not done that. No. Part of it, I want to get a hold of Bolger Brothers and see what they're going to need to be doing, if they're planning what their approach is going to be for the fuel tanks and where they're running fuel lines, to make sure that we're not going to have any conflicts, and see how they are intending to do their fuel system. So we could basically dodge that, and then we could look at the infiltration stuff to see what we could do around it.
you're going to be hard pressed to meet the infiltration requirements. Just
That's what, I know it's a deep, yeah, that's kind
Yeah.
of what I had a suspicion given the site's history. So, I mean, I'm wondering if we're not going to need to be going down to the southwest and putting some structural stuff in.
Yeah. Just so you know that the infiltration detail that you do show, that's not one of MDE's details.
Right, that's one that we basically have been using in Garrett County that they've basically have, let's just say they've encouraged us to use that. That's not a standard MDE detail.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And that's what we have plenty of room down there to the southeast that if we need to do a larger retention facility or a bioretention, I mean, coming up with the volumes is not, it's not going to be hard to have a volume there for it. It's just a matter of making sure that we're not going to be creating any hassles with what the fuel guys are doing. And I, you know, what is it? Very stony urban or soils or something like that. So I don't, you know, we're in a D. I don't think you're going to get any real infiltration up in there.
So I'm wondering, are we then going to be reviewing a second plan from the Boulder Brothers?
Or basically, once the Bolger Brothers gives us a plan on what they're wanting to do, if we incorporate it into the final.
Okay.
I mean, we need to get, once the weather is cooperative, we need to get the utilities marked out, all the stormwater stuff marked out, get everything basically as built, and get Bolger Brothers to give us their design. And then we'll be incorporating all that into a final plan.
Have you decided how that, what is it? Southwest corner is going to be used in that? I was in and looked at the plan in the office, and I couldn't just figure out how many parking spaces are you actually planning on developing there?
Well, Smitty said that he wants to go ahead and open that area up. So while he's doing the work now, he can go ahead and be free to do whatever he wants to do in the commercial areas. So there's going to be like 37 parking spaces in that area once he expands the parking over towards the loading docks. So that little grassy area between the existing parking and the loading dock area, he wants to go ahead, take out, pave, put curbing in, and that way in the future, whenever he proceeds with whatever he's doing in the commercial areas beyond his office and storage, it's already ready to go.
Right. I just wasn't sure how to interpret those white slashes, whether that was.
No, the white slashes are basically just all the proposed pavement.
That is proposed. Okay.
Yes. So you can see on the southeast side of the site, they're going to be expanding the pad down to the southeast in order to get additional parking for employee stuff down there. And I'm anticipating this is where they're going to put a couple of
Right.
10,000 gallon tanks. Like I said, that's just me trying to lay something out so we can get an idea that, you know, we think this is where they're going to be putting the fuel system. I don't know what Bolger Brothers is going to say or even what volumes they're going to end up going with.
So they may not even put in that many lanes.
I think they're probably, I mean, let's face it, 4 lanes is only 2 pumps.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, basically, we've got 4 lanes and we've got it backed up where you could have 2, you know, 1 queue to each one. And there's also a bypass lane. So if somebody pulls in and for some reason doesn't want to wait, they can either go through on the south side of fuel lane 4 or the north side of fuel lane 1.
Yeah.
And still get around the pumps. Or if somebody was coming in and just had an issue with tires and wasn't wanting to get fuel, they still have room to do things in there. I mean, it's a pretty roomy site. It's actually nice not to have things as tight as usual.
Right.
And the advantage here with this site also is that, you know, as he was pointing out, you're not really going to get good infiltration, but we've got that whole area to the southwest that we can put in a larger structure if we're doing some sort of retention. Even if we do like a bioretention basin down there, space is not an issue.
Hey, Aaron, this is Jeff. Hey, it is all the same parcel, correct?
Yes,
Okay. So there's no issue there.
right.
Do they have an existing dumpster? I didn't notice that when I was looking at the plan. Do they have a dumpster location planned in there?
I don't have anything planned for it. I can go ahead and talk to Smitty and see if they want to allocate one. What they're doing now is they have trailers backed up to the loading dock, which is where they're putting their waste tires, bringing tires in and taking tires out. I think they have some larger receptacles and bins within that office tire storage area on the north side of the building. But I don't think they have any outside dumpsters.
You're still gonna need dumpsters for the commercial areas.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's just a city requirement.
okay. That shouldn't be an issue, that we got plenty of space. You see right to the south of fuel lane 4, there's a little circle there. That's where he actually has like a transformer pad in place now that he's going to either have to get relocated. He's been contacting utilities about potentially relocating that so it's not close to the fuel lane, or just basically putting some bollards around it and you could put a dumpster in place there.
All of the, well, I guess if they're fuel lanes, what are the hours of operation? Is there going to be any lighting plan?
What I've talked to Smitty about initially is if he's going to have that open where it's going to be dark. I mean, he isn't talking about having like a 24/7 or anything like that. He wants it to be open during the business hours for Smitty's Tire. So basically somebody can run the office that'll service the tire shop and the fuel lanes. I explained to him if he was going to do anything, like if he put a canopy over the fuel pumps and had any lighting, he's going to want that basically to shine straight down and not be diffused out towards, off-site any. And I don't know that he's basically set the hours yet. I think he's pretty flexible about, if there's something that would, if the planning commission has some recommendations about what hours they'd like to see, I'm sure he would definitely take that into consideration. But he's not wanting to run a 24/7 fuel stop up here or anything like that, no.
Hey, Aaron, still, I think it's going to be, obviously it's going to be lit after hours. So somewhere there needs to be a note that whatever lighting is installed, it needs to be directional.
Okay.
To minimize the light going across the street towards the nursing home.
They really
Okay.
should have a photometric plan done and submitted to the city.
Photometric plan submitted to
Yep.
the city, okay.
Aaron, I was looking through the Maryland Stormwater Management Manual. I'm going through this.
Mhm.
Just to let you know that all the infiltration practices are not recommended for what they call a hotspot. It's a place that generates higher concentrations of hydrocarbon, trace metals, toxicants found in typical stormwater and may contaminate groundwater. So I don't even know if I would pursue your infiltration route and just look towards some of the other practices.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Once Bolger Brothers kind of works out, I mean, they're basically handling the NPDES permitting, which is the stormwater permitting. So I have a feeling that they're going to actually handle all of the stormwater stuff in the fuel lane area. Whether they're putting some fuel, separators and stuff in
Okay.
there, or some chambers. Like, really, that's kind of their baby. I'm just basically sketching up like if this was a normal site, you could do something like this, but I think Bolger is going to come in and say, nah, this is what we have to do because it's a hot spot.
Do we have a parking count on the plans in the notes? Admittedly, they're kind of hard to read right now.
I don't have a parking count, but the parking spaces are out. I mean, they're basically numbered. You have 37 on the southeast side, and then 20 employee parking spaces on the southeast side, and the 37 are on the southwest side. If you want me to add that as a parking note with parking spaces, that I can do that.
Yeah, you're gonna need to show what the required are versus what you're providing. It looks to me like you probably have more than what's necessary, but I don't know what your square footages of the building are. There's a section in the zoning code that deals with on-site parking, and it'll give you the ratios that you'll need to have for that. And that should be on your finals.
Okay.
The other thing I think you're gonna need, Aaron, is I know that you've indicated you're gonna plant a row of trees along the north side of the property adjacent to Village Parkway. We're gonna need to see a table of the species that you're proposing.
Okay. Species and spacing kind of thing.
Yes.
Where does the property line run for this? I'm looking at the PDF and I'm having a hard time figuring that out.
Well, according
It
to,
goes off the map.
How about along Village Parkway? What's the right of way for Village Parkway? Because right now, I'm assuming it's the red Phantom line that's running, and it looks like it might be.
yeah, it's like right along the edge of the road.
So there's no right of way there?
Well, and see, that's what Western Maryland Associates have provided me with basically a survey that shows that this is pretty much, it just shows Village Parkway, and it doesn't give a right-of-way width on Village Parkway, which I found kind of odd. But there are actual monuments. That's one of the things that I have to do whenever we go out to locate the stormwater facilities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this was me taking the surveyed footprint from Western Maryland Associates and fitting it into the tax map and trying to center it up on the roads.
Oh yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, these aren't exactly what they're rectified, but that's why when I said, you know, I've got to get our guys out there to locate culverts and storm drains and some of these property corridors you know, but that's a lot of it's kind of has been, let's just say, problematic with the weather recently. Even in Frostburg, it's been even worse up here. But yeah, the survey that I got doesn't show much of a, it doesn't really give a defined right-of-way width for Village Parkway.
Village Parkway is a county road, correct?
In part.
I think so.
This part's a city road, right?
Yeah,
we're
I mean,
well
it's
within the
definitely
city.
within city limits.
Hmm.
I need to dig that up and add a note to the plan regarding the dispensation of Village Parkway, probably be a good plan.
I'm looking at the subdivision that was done for the Frostburg Industrial Park, which abuts this property.
Mhm.
And I'm showing an 80-foot wide right of way for Village Parkway.
Okay, well, I'll definitely have, that does not match what was, the
Yeah,
survey.
That came from the county.
Okay. Well, like I said,
So-
I'll dig that up and like I said, we'll be going out there to find and locate the pins that match up with the survey that Smitty already had done. So I can basically make sure that all this stuff is keyed together properly. The 80 foot, that's big.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. That this is intended to be access to an industrial park with wide roads and turning lanes.
Right. And potential future expansion, because if the industrial park does
Exactly.
well, it might go from 2 to 4 lanes.
Yes.
Do any other commissioners have any comments on this preliminary site plan? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion for approval.
Say it again, pardon me?
None of the other commissioners have made any additional comments, and I have asked that someone move for the approval of your preliminary site plan.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hey, Conrad, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we accept the preliminary approval for Smitty's Tire as presented with the recommendations that we've discussed.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Commissioner.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the preliminary site development plan for Smitty's Tire, subject to the corrections and items that we've noted here this evening. Director Bennett, would you call the?
Yes, sir, with pleasure. Thank you. Commissioner Krogh?
I approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Duncan?
Approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Rase?
I approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Snyder?
I approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter?
I approve.
Thank you. And Chair Best?
Approved.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that's a unanimous vote to approve the preliminary plan as presented with recommendations discussed.
Thank you. Appreciate the feedback.
Thank you, Aaron.
The next item on our agenda is discussion items by the chair and members of the commission. Anybody have anything?
If I may, I think we began to discuss Village Parkway in the commentary regarding the preliminary site plan for Smitty's Tire. And as we're aware, there are several projects ongoing in the industrial park, and we're coming to a point where the industrial park is close to getting full. And it appears to be a very good time to talk about Village Parkway. And as Commissioner Rase brought up, there's an existing right-of-way and there's potential for more traffic. So Village Parkway improvements are becoming something that's more than just on the radar. It's something to discuss for the near future.
Well, I think we need to see the true right of way up here, because where I was talking about was a little bit further to the east.
Mhm.
And that's the documentation that I had from the county for a job that we had done on the neighboring subdivision. I do not know, with just the brief overview, whether that extended from here up to 36. I think it does. I think when Village Parkway was originally laid out, it's pretty wide. but it points out a couple issues that we really ought to think about is if, say, this is a minimum right of way, which is just the roadway width, is there anything in our ordinance that would allow the city to withhold a certain distance off so that the road, if it ever was expanded, we weren't taking away from something that they had built on? I know when we work in the county and we do a subdivision of property in the county, you have to dedicate so far from the center line over, even on existing roads where right of way is established based on the usage of the area and what their zoning is of the area. I don't know if that applies to site plans in the city. It's the first time that we've actually had this kind of development in a long time on a road that, looks like it's bare minimum right away.
And we'll have to research in-house.
Well, it does appear that the nursing home and the Frostburg Village apartments there, looks like they were set back a ways from the center line of the road, so that must have been something in place at that time. That's been a long time ago. Precedes my coming to Frostburg, I know.
Hey, Ray, I mean, when you just look at where the fuel lines are proposed for this project, at least where the stormwater trench one is, that should be I mean, just going by and assuming the center, if Parkway Village center line is the center
It'd
line,
still be far enough off. Yeah.
you've got far enough. Even the trees are going to be back out of that 40-foot offset on either side of the center line. Just saying, in this case, I think we're all right. Obviously, we're going to have to know, and I think it's, as you said, I think it's important to actually know where that is out there.
Yeah.
Um,
From what I had in the other drawings, and I don't think this has the ability to share desktops, but from what I had from my other drawing, the parkway was located on the southern part of the right of way. So
Okay.
if you imagine this being 4 lanes, then this would be 2 lanes of 4. So this would be 2 of the eastbound or 2 of the southbound lanes.
Right. So maybe their property line is lining up right.
It might be, but
Yeah.
it's definitely something I think that in the final, and it was made clear in the thing that needs to be straightened out. But it brings up an issue. I mean, you look through here, say that's not the case. I mean, say that the right of way is really the cart path. That doesn't provide the city much room for any type of improvement to Village Parkway should the need arise, because there's still, a good 20 some acres down there or more that can be developed. And next month, you'll see one from my company that is adding 50,000 square feet of office space down, or not office, but warehousing.
These are good problems to have, Ray.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's great that we got this. I kind of like that. I mean, but it's something that I know for my 20 some years on this group, we've never had to deal with any kind of growing pains like this. This is great.
Well,
So,
Ray, can we make this? Can we get Chris to look into this for us, or is Chris going to kill us whenever we say that?
I think on the city's behalf, and obviously this is up to LJ, but I would strongly recommend the city do some research on this and put some thought into this, particularly when we got this coming in right now. So,
I agree. Now's the time.
yes. I got good pains to have. This is good stuff to have going on. So.
Well, this is what this was always intended for, was this development. So, I mean, it's just taken a while to develop out, but we're there. I mean,
All right. That is correct.
Just out of curiosity, was there ever any consideration given in this development when this business park was established? You've got the parcel that I'm going to say is to the west of Smitty's Tire and bordered by 36. Right now it's a forested area, but could certainly be a spot for a small drive-through restaurant of some kind.
The state of Maryland maintains a very wide way along 36. And I assume that's because of the future potential for that to be developed into a dual highway. But that right of way is very wide along 36. That wooded area is mostly the state highway right of way.
That
Actually-
answers my question there.
Yeah, a good bit of what, I can't remember which hole that is up at Maplehurst. Like 2 of the holes on Maplehurst are actually in state highway right away.
Yeah, it used to be 14 along the road. Literally, the fairway is not very wide because the right of way comes all the way down to the bottom of the toe of the fill and then actually down on the fairway. I mean, it's out in the fairway.
So if it pleases the commission, I'd be happy to do some research and put together a report
Please
to
do.
present to you, and we can discuss more details in depth.
I think it'd be useful information to have for future growth in this area. LJ, you ready to move on to the administrative business?
Yes, sir, I am. If everyone's satisfied with that discussion, we'll certainly bring it back next month and talk about it some more. So staff has received communication from the Maryland Department of Planning and the Maryland Planning Commissioners Association regarding Planning and Board of Zoning Appeals Commissioner training opportunities. And so we have done some outreach to commissioners, and it's my understanding that all of the commissioners we talked to have now updated their training, and I thank you sincerely for doing that. I know, it's time consuming, but I just want you to know that we really appreciate our community and your dedication to this commission. We thank you very much for that. I recently also sent out an updated Open Meetings Manual, Open Meetings Act Manual. I just wanted to give that to you because this is the 2021 update. And largely what I've seen as I've been reading through it, the updates are in regard to online meetings, because 2020 and still in 2021, this is what I had to move to be able to continue our operations. And open meetings are a very important facet of our meetings because these are public issues that we're discussing. And so we have to make sure we're doing this in the right manner. And so streaming meetings live and providing for public comment are important factors. And then because we have our online meeting portal set up, it's been the ideal place to store meetings and store our videos and our minutes and all of our actions that public has access. So generally speaking, that's what a lot of the updates were about in the updated manual, was how to make sure we're doing things properly and doing our outreach properly when we're meeting in a virtual format.
Oh, Jay, I have a question for you. I've always wondered this. How do you take comments from the audience? I mean, so right now you're doing this on Zoom and you're doing this on Facebook Live, right?
Right.
So, say if I was sitting in
YouTube. I'm sorry, we're on YouTube.
Okay, so on YouTube. So say I was sitting in, how do I get to say something like? Because normally in our live meetings, Conrad would ask, and if anyone had anything to say to come on up and talk about it. Say you had someone from Village Parkway show up here and say that, oh, I have a question, I want to ask a question. How do you handle that doing virtual meetings?
In a public hearing, we would solicit public comment and testimony as we advertise the meeting. And then anyone who wanted to provide testimony in a public hearing would be invited into the meeting. When we're just doing a solicit public comment as we advertise the meeting, and people can provide public comment through a phone call to our offices, through an email. They can record a video of themselves, or they can leave us a message and we can play that recorded message. And that comment is invited as we advertise for the meetings. At this point, every time before we sit down to a meeting, I check my email and I check my phone messages, and we've received no public comment. And this agenda has been live on our site for over 2 weeks.
I was just wondering how this was handled, because I've seen it, if we were going to do, say, a major subdivision where everybody gets involved.
Mhm.
So, think of, was it Braddock Run or something like that, or even
Or
Pitcher's Farm. So, a lot of times people don't look at anything until during the meeting, or they're hesitant to say something, but yet when they show up at the meeting and their friends are there, they all have comment. Is there a
Right.
mechanism after the meeting for this stuff to be heard? Or, because I know a lot of times, we're looking at stuff, and it may not be so much with us, but definitely with zoning appeals, where public comment has a lot to do with how they view stuff. I was just curious, just
Absolutely.
my
And-
curiosity.
Right, and Board of Zoning Appeals would be a public hearing, so that would be advertised another way in terms of, it would be advertised in the paper and as a public hearing, and we'd have another mechanism to invite people into the meeting so they could offer their testimony.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of this type of meeting, this is a public meeting, and that's why we're live streaming on YouTube, and we invite public comment prior to the meeting. If we should receive public comment after the meeting, we'll of course address that too.
There's a criteria for notifying adjacent property owners too. Is that zoning board meetings only, or does that apply to?
Yes, sir, that's zoning, that's for Board of Zoning Appeals. There have been times in the past, particularly in regard to the development of subdivisions in Frostburg, where as a courtesy, we cultivated a contact list for people in adjacent areas to that subdivision development where they wanted to be involved in the meeting process, and they let us know that. And as a courtesy, we developed that contact list and kept that going while that subdivision was being developed.
Any other comments or reports at this time? If not, I'd like to thank the members of Troop 24 who have joined us tonight, and I would call for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded, and I'll take the prerogative as chair to declare the meeting adjourned. Everybody enjoy shoveling the snow.
Let's hope. Or
Went
not.
out this morning and found that my snow blower was frozen in the ice. So Took a few minutes to get it ready for tonight.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Goes along with my Boy Scout training, being prepared. Good night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you, one
night,
and all.
everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. Thank you, enjoyed having you this evening, and thank you, Frostburg. Have a great evening, everyone. Enjoy the snow and stay safe.
We'll be in
Thanks for
touch.
everything.
Night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Hey, LJ, can you stick on for a minute?
I sure can.
All right.